Today it is Friday, the 3rd of January 2025. I like to bring today new items to you, farmers in Africa, and those who are interested in food production in Africa, but also in general. Today we will focus on animal rearing, but beside that I have also some other news item. I like to start with something that is still of very importance throughout Africa, but also throughout the world, and that is the consistent threat of the African swine fever. African swine fever is a threat to every farmer who is rearing pigs. And it is something that we would not have to underestimate. Once it is on your farm, it will devastate your farm. And you have to be at most sincere in your biosafety measures. Don't underestimate it. Pigs need to have biosafety. If you bring them outside, you have to make sure that you have all your lots well fenced and that there is a corridor between other animals and your pigs. And you can do that by creating a fence and put electricity on it and make sure that no other animal will reach your pig. Make sure you take your own personal hygiene measures. Clean your feet, clean your hands. Make sure you disinfect your boots, your hands. Make sure that your friends, your wife, your children do the same. Have always additional overalls available. Have additional boots available and hand gloves. Don't underestimate this threat. Second subject for the general news is a discussion that is coming up throughout the world and agricultural world. If the Bitcoin or the digital currencies can create a more stable agricultural commodity market, if political issues are less important, the prices of commodities have in the Bitcoin or other digital currencies far less involvement of politics. And many people and economics have very large questions on if Bitcoin might be a solution. Bitcoin has itself a very volatile market behavior. Increasing volatility is for the poor farmer not a solution. It's important that the rest of the world understands that Bitcoin price formulation of agricultural commodities is not in the interest of the poor farmers. Thank you. Today we are focusing on feedlot management and cattle rearing. In today's video about cattle rearing, we see an organization in Kenya who is assisting smallholder farmers with improving their management capacity. Please watch it carefully and ask yourself, what can you learn from it? And if you have questions, please leave underneath this video your questions. I will answer them as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Cattle farming in warm regions has its challenges, the most common being parasites and how to control them. Joseph.
Yeah.
Wow, very nice cows.
Good.
It must be quite a challenge feeding them.
Very big challenge. Very big challenge.
Okay, come with me. There's an expert waiting for you to talk to you about how to feed them.
So, exactly.
Yes, let's go meet him.
Yeah.
Come on.
Let's go.
Joseph's pride and joy is his cattle, but these come with a lot of challenges. We have called in David from catlle Africa to help him manage this better. The cows that you keep here, what do you keep them for?
Mainly for beef.
So you usually sell your cows?
I usually sell my cows.
Any challenges so far?
To get the feed here is a big problem because scarcity of rain. So you can't get the grass to feed the cattle in an easy way because you must go very far. Secondly, diseases. There are this disease caused by ticks, sassafly.
How has those two challenges affected your cows?
Let's start with the feeds. The feeds here, they have make me to get maybe low yield. The cows, if you bring maybe somebody to buy,
yes,
he cannot buy to the right price because the animal itself
doesn't look good.
Does not good at all. In case of the diseases, the same thing.
Have you lost any cows to diseases?
Yeah. Some 3 months to 4 months ago, I lost one cow here. Very good one.
Oh, that's not good.
And it was a kind of a disease. In these diseases, sometimes myself, I have a small knowledge. I used to go to the chemist there, I buy some drugs, and I came and treat them myself. Because sometimes, even myself, I can think this cow may have a certain disease, or the way I see it.
And you inject them yourself?
Yeah, myself.
So you also
if the disease comes so critical,
yes,
it is the time I consult a veterinary. So I save something.
Is that advisable?
It is not advisable, Tony, because the first thing you can do what we call a wrong diagnosis.
I do guesswork.
Yeah, you just do guesswork. That's why you are saying you treat, then after it doesn't recover,
it does not recover,
you call a vet. Always advisable, when you see some symptoms in your animal, consult a vet.
From looking at them,
yes,
what can you tell us?
Their body condition is not very good. You can see the cows are doing a lot of wastage. It's always advisable you cut into small pieces and feed the animals. Yeah, when the feeding is correct, even the incidences of diseases will be low.
Or how about water?
All these animals are not able to access water. You should ensure that whenever they are feeding, they can access water freely.
What kind of nutrients should the cows get?
The first thing is about the quality of the grass, then again about the concentrates. You can give maize germ to the cattle. You can also give supplements, include mineral supplements and other supplements which normally assist in digestion.
Exactly.
Yes.
So do you use any minerals, any nutrients for your cows?
No.
We normally have salt specifically for beef animals. This one is called the Maclick beef. This one has got all the elements which the beef animals require for their well-being of their bodies. You can give it as a free choice where the animals have a space where they go and lick the salt to their satisfaction.
When giving Maclick beef, pour a good amount in a salt trough or cut bucket and allow the animal to lick to its satisfaction. Okay, let's deal with the next challenge.
Yes.
Parasites.
By the look of the skin, you can see that the air is raised. So that should tell you that
there is something wrong.
Yes, it needs some deworming. So normally deworming should be done after every 3 months.
For calves between 1 to 6 months, deworm every month. For calves above 6 months, deworm every 3 months.
So whenever you are deworming, it's very key and it's very good to know the weight of the animal. Yes, yes.
Joseph, how can you know the weight of this cow?
Maybe by just guesswork, maybe 200 kg.
David, how can a farmer know the correct weight for this animal?
We have a tape measure called a weight band. So you will find there is a scale for the beef animals and there is a scale for the dairy animals. So you normally tie the weight band around the girth. You read the scale. So in that case, you'll be able to know the correct dosage of the dewormer you are giving it. And even when it comes to selling your animal, you'll know the live weight of the animal. Yes, yes.
That's good.
When you are doing deworming, we normally advise farmers to use Nielsen Plus.
Oh, Nielsen Plus.
Yes, for Nielsen Plus, you get the body weight of the animal, you divide by 2 to get the amount of dosage of Nielsen Plus which will give to the animal.
Okay.
Yes.
Remember, when giving Nielsen Plus for deworming, get the weight of the animal, divide that number by 2, and you'll get the milliliters you should give. If it's 200 kilos, divide by 2, you get 100. Give the animals 100 milliliters of Nielsen Plus.
The people here which are buying across us here, they come and weigh the cow with eyes. If they come here at my farm now, I take the band, now put it at the shoulder of the cow and I say, mister, this my cow weighs 250. So let's now start bargaining from here.
With the expert's advice, a shape-up was needed, and we added some feed troughs and salt buckets.
The cows now have water troughs and a constant supply of salt.
The last item we have today is our strong help. The tractor is a very important instrument for every farmer, and it is not without consequences. A tractor needs maintenance. For that reason, I have selected a video from a man who gives an instruction of what kind of daily maintenance you have to do on your tractor. Please take it serious.
S6, a helping hand with your land.
When you take your tractor to the field, if you're like most of us, you're gonna go hop your behind in the seat, turn the key, and go to work. But by taking a couple of seconds to go around and take a look at that machine, check off a couple of, say, pre-operation checks, go around and do a little bit of preventative maintenance, you can save yourself some potential mechanical headaches down the road. You kind of hear that saying sometimes of you schedule the time for your machine to have periodic maintenance, or your machine is going to schedule it for you. Today we're going to talk about a couple of those little things that you take those couple of seconds before you take that machine to work and maybe save yourself those headaches down the road. This is a little off topic, but if you take a look behind me here, we are in September of 2020. Middle of coronavirus, backside of coronavirus, and you can see the supply issues of tractors. If you look behind me here, this parking lot has never been so empty in my recent memory. I did a little bit of prep work in coming up for some of these suggestions here for you today, and kind of combine some of the things that I was finding out of owner's manuals along with some stuff that was posted online. And some of this I kind of laughed at. We're going to give you a good dose of reality today, right? Like, what are some things that we reasonably are actually going to consider doing in the course of the day versus the silly pre-operation checklist that sometimes you'll find in the owner's manual. Kubota is going to tell us to do a walk-around inspection. Check the engine oil level, the transmission oil level, the coolant level, the air conditioner screen, the grill and the radiator screen. a lot of things here, right? Fundamentally, doing that kind of stuff periodically is great, right? Going around and checking your engine oil dipstick is a good idea. If you, say, run your engine out of oil and lock the engine up, you've done several $1,000s worth of damage to your machine. reality is, though, that those kinds of things just basically kind of never happen, right? Your engine, especially in a newer piece of equipment, isn't going to burn oil. We don't see machines coming into the shop having to have engines torn out of them because the machine was leaking under a warranty period or anything. That kind of stuff just doesn't happen. However, one thing that you very easily could do before hopping on the seat and turning the key is taking a look down there underneath the tractor at the ground and checking for puddles. One of those puddles may lead you to then take some further looks up at your machine to check your radiator or your hydraulic system for a place that you may have sprung some kind of small leak. So while it's very unlikely that a machine sitting here on its own, that oil's not going to evaporate, looking down there on the ground before you start the machine is an easy way to check if it's been losing it while it's been sitting. Now, certainly not going to tell you never to check this stuff, right? This isn't hard to do. Simply by popping up your hood or pulling the dipstick from the side of the tractor, you can check these things periodically. So every couple of months, you certainly want to do that. And always want to remind you too, one of the more common places you're going to lose oil out of a tractor, especially as it starts to age, is out of your front axles. You'll start to see some leaking and stuff on the seals there if you're doing a lot of really heavy loader work. That's a separate oil bath up there from the rest of the machine. So a tractor like this has hydraulic oil in the rear, engine oil in the engine, but then also a gear oil or a hydraulic oil in its front axles. So don't ignore that front axle when you're doing fluid checks. Now, while a quick glance underneath the tractor can tell you some things about those fluid reservoirs, there is no substitute for taking a look at your tractor's cooling system. This is probably one of the first places that we're going to see owners causing mechanical problems with their tractors, and that's when they're out operating them in extremely dusty or grassy conditions and the cooling system on the tractor gets plugged up. You can keep an eye on the temp gauge on your machine while you're out operating to keep an eye if it's like starting to plug up while you're out running it. But after you've parked it, or if you're going out for the very first time, if you've known that you've been out in those dusty conditions, flipping the hood and checking the pre-screen on the front of the radiator or popping open the air filter canister only takes a moment, and it's a really easy way to check and see whether those dusty conditions have plugged up your tractor's cooling system. Overheated engines and warped heads, I'm going to say, are way more common failure points on these machines from those, dirty operating conditions when nobody's paying attention than any of these fluid related things tend to be. Now, most of us are going to be operating equipment off-road, but if you're in any kind of business environment, you're concerned about OSHA implications, or you're going to be running up and down the road, which you can do with the orange triangle and the 4-ways on, you're going to want to take a couple of extra steps to care for those kinds of things that would have, liability in that safety sense. And that would be going around and checking things like turn signals, 4-ways and headlights, those simple operational indicators, and making sure the orange triangle is still on the back of the tractor. These things back here tend to have a tendency to blow off if you're trucking your tractor back and forth in particular, but having that back there if you're going to be going up and down the road is important. Also checking your seatbelt, probably the single most important piece of safety equipment on the tractor. If you got the roll bar up and the seatbelt on, in the event that these machines go over, which does happen more often than you would ever guess, this is going to keep you on the operator's platform and keep you from being crushed by the tractor. So making sure the seatbelt is in good functioning condition is going to help keep you safe. Since I'm going through and making my own list here, one of the things that I feel like is grossly missed on a tractor is greasing a machine. When you go through and you look at the little lubricate stickers that are on these things, they're going to tell you every 10 hours to go around and hit the pins and stuff on the loaders and your mower decks and kind of any of your moving points in order to keep them lubricated. 10 hours on a tractor can actually come fairly quickly, right? For me, that's like 2 good days, right? I mean, you get out for 3-4 hours at a time and you can go over 10 hours really quickly. And kind of like flossing your teeth, it's one of those things that you just kind of do every once in a while when it feels like it's been a while and it's kind of bad, right? Doing it on a regular basis seems a little bit overkill sometimes. And I would tell you, from a guy who sits and trades in equipment and sees how this kind of stuff wears, you cannot over grease a tractor. So personally, I would look at making an investment in like a good battery powered grease gun, or at the very least having a good quality one nearby and hitting a couple of those zerks, even as a daily PM check before you go out, because I think it's probably the #1 thing that you can do to make your tractor wear better over the long haul. Everyone's daily PMs are going to mean a different thing to them, right? If you're going at this from the safety angle, another thing that you definitely want to incorporate in here is checking your implement attachment points and making sure everything is securely locked in. So that would mean checking your swift attach or pin-on points on your loaders, checking your skid steer couplers and making sure your pins are securely dropped into any implement you have on the front loader, or checking your 3-point hitch and making sure that your sway bars are set appropriately for an implement that's back there and all of your pins are in place. On the 3-point hitch in particular, that's one area that's really easy to be out working and have a pin or a clevis knocked off and knocked loose and have an implement pop off the back or come loose in an unexpected manner. So checking that is good from a safety perspective, but can also prevent unexpected damage to an implement because it comes unhooked. So in summary, everybody's daily PMs are going to look a little different depending on exactly who you are, right? For those of us that are out operating personally, we have a different standard of care than somebody in a business or an OSHA concerned environment. But at the very least, anybody should be taking that 30 seconds before you turn that key to check for puddles on the floor, check your implements and make sure everything is still securely attached, check your cooling system and make sure your tractor is breathing freely, and hitting the appropriate things with a grease gun if you haven't done it in a day or two. Going through and doing those very simple things has the potential to save your tractor wear and tear over the long term and to prevent you from doing some kind of unexpected damage to an implement. A couple of seconds, an ounce of prevention, pound of cure kind of thing that we all often overlook when we're ready to go out, turn that key and go to work. So shopping for a piece of equipment or you have parts or service needs for a machine you've already got, give us a call at Messick's. We're available at 800-222-3373 or online at Messick's.com. OSHA would like to remind us that we should check if the fuel supply is filled and the tank is properly fastened. Are our handrails, steps, and platform clean, clear of trash, and in good condition? We're supposed to check that the engine temperature gauge is in working condition, but somehow do that before starting the engine. Too arty. Okay.
Thank you for watching this video, and next week, Friday, we will have our 3rd episode. Please subscribe, like this video so that we can grow our news basis for you. I want to thank you for watching and say till next week.